The Silk Road, the world's first global trading network. By Souaidan. Thesis statement. The Silk Road became the world's first global trading network in about 130 BCE, when the Han of China officially opened trading routes to the west, which lasted until about 1453 CE, when the Ottoman Empire stopped trade with the west and shut down the Silk Road. What was the Silk Road and what did it accomplish? The Silk Road was a network of trading routes, a paved way for cultural diffusion, and an avenue for the exchanges of ideas and philosophies. The Silk Road was not a road made of silk, nor a road that traded only silk. It traded many things like spices, jewelry, rice, wool, silk, etc. The Silk Road wasn't even a real road at all. It was a series of routes that connected the Eurasian continent from China to Europe. Some routes were shorter yet more dangerous. Other routes took longer but were, however, more secure. The Silk Road linked the regions of the world together, both culturally and religiously, for many years. It was a street for the trading of ideas and religion. For over 1,400 years, the Silk Road was used not just to trade goods, but to also connect different cultures and exchange cultural customs. The advancements of silk generation, papermaking, gunpowder manufacturing, and block printing advanced west over Asia by means of the Silk Road. The religions of Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam snuck their way into China because of the Silk Road. Rich or poor, the Silk Road reshaped the lives of everyone living in Africa and Eurasia. So how did the Silk Road begin? The Silk Road began in 130 BCE, when the Han of China officially opened trade with the West. Originally, the Chinese traded silk within the empire, from the interior to the western borders. After a while, their caravans were being attacked by other tribes, so they toughened up their defenses and began to become better traders. Traders, like the ones depicted in this illustration, traveled all across Asia along the Silk Road to exchange goods and ideas. The Silk Road connected China and Europe using trading routes, as this map depicts. This map also shows what was being traded on the Silk Road and where everything came from. Fun fact. In the early Tang Dynasty, the Silk Road was controlled by the Chuk tribe, unifying with little states in the western region against the government and distributing the exchange. The Tang Dynasty later vanquished the Chuk tribe and further progressed trading, achieving an impact in return with the West. The well-known Chinese monk Xuanzang dared to go all aspects of the Silk Road in the midst of this period. He began his trek from the Chang'an, which is now Xi'an. He experienced the Hexi Corridor, the zone west of the Yellow River, Hami, which is in the Xinjiang region, and the Turpan, also in the Xinjiang region, and continued westward to India. What did the Silk Road trade? The Silk Road traded physical things like foods and materials. While silk was the most important, valuable metals and stones, flavorings and spices, porcelain, and textiles traveled to every part of the Silk Road. Merchants would also trade fragrances, jewels, ivory, sugar, paintings and pictures, luxury goods, rice, cotton, wool, silk and other fabrics, skins, furs, cattle, and slaves. Buddhist monks and missionaries spread their philosophies as they traveled along the Silk Road. The Silk Road was also a channel for much more than traded objects. Technology made its way along the Silk Road as well. Did you know? By about 200 BCE, the Silk Road was considered a proper trade route, and so it remained until about the 14th century, when it was mainly replaced by safer and more convenient sea routes from Asia to Europe, which are shown here on the map as the blue. The red is the actual Silk Road, the one that went over land. Fun fact. The Silk Road got its name from the vast amount of silk from China that was brought along it. The Chinese learned to make silk thousands and thousands of years ago, but they kept their processes of making the silk a secret. China was also the only major supplier of silk until about the 500 CE, when the Western European countries figured out how to make silk. Silk is a strong, shiny fiber that is used as clothing or used to make cloth. It is also the strongest natural fiber. The women in this painting are inspecting the silk for any impurities or imperfections. Did you know? Silk fibers are made from the cocoons of caterpillars called silkworms. Many other animals, like spiders and lacewings, make silk threads as well. Scientists have also made genetically modified goats that produce spider silk proteins in their milk. Those proteins are filtered out and used to make silk fibers. However, spider silk is not the best or most efficient way to produce silk, cloth, or fibers. Where did the Silk Road take place? The Silk Road took place all across Asia and Europe. This map pinpoints all major places of trade on the Silk Road, shown in black, and some of the participating countries, shown in red. Which countries were involved in the Silk Road? There were many countries involved in the Silk Road, but the most prominent ones were Afghanistan, Armenia, Azerbaijan, China, Georgia, India, Iran, Iraq, Jordan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Lebanon, Mongolia, Nepal, Pakistan, Russia, Syria, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Turkey, and Uzbekistan. How would people travel along the Silk Road? Along the Silk Road, people would ride many animals, but most commonly camels, horses, and donkeys. This image of a statue from the Silk Road era depicts the way traders would get to places on the Silk Road. Goods and ideas moved in a relay style from city to city. While a few items made the entire route, almost no individual person ever did. They traveled between a couple of marketplaces, commonly strolling alongside camels heaped high with products. While adjusted to Central Asia's brutal and rough conditions, the tough camel was crucial to this long-distance exchange route. The danger of thieves and risks of crossing huge deserts and mountains made experienced guides also crucial. The form of transport slowly moved to ships, which moved quicker than camel caravans and could transport heavier, more delicate merchandise like ceramics. So how and why did the Silk Road end? The main reason the Silk Road ended was because the Ottoman Empire stopped trading with the West and shut down the Silk Road. The fall of the Tang dynasty in the early 900s also had a huge effect on trade on the Silk Road. Another really important reason was because traders and people going on the Silk Road used camels and camel caravans to carry their goods, religions, and ideas across the dry, harsh regions of the Silk Road. But by 800 CE, traffic began to slow down, and the land version of the Silk Road was being used much less in favor of quicker and safer sea routes, which were on the sea version of the Silk Road, otherwise known as the Maritime Silk Road. Did you know you can still travel the Silk Road today, and you can still see many of the old cities, monasteries, and staging posts that guided travelers on their journey along the Silk Road. You can still see many of the people of the Silk Road too, the Uyghurs, the Kyrgyz, and the Tajiks, for example, and their traditional way of life. You can still visit busy livestock markets and wander in bazaars where raisins, knives, silk, ceramics, plants, tea, gold, ivory, horses, metal, cotton, perfume, wood, and beaten copper are traded, and where people still haggle fiercely over special goods that they just can't get at home. Although Marco Polo claimed to have traveled the full length of the Silk Road, most traders usually only traveled a small part of the whole route. Fun fact, the Muslims had a great influence on the Chinese because of the Silk Road. The Muslim religion became dominant in China, and a lot of their culture was shown in Chinese art and music.